I go to, and then boom, it's like I'm getting DMs or I'm getting a massive amount of retweets despite the whatever shadow banning or whatever it is. Hold on, let me just start this on TikTok. I got to do the little, just to this is how I kind of let everybody know. At least this is the system I'm using now that we're here. So yeah, when I, my Twitter account is pretty much, stabilized, normal, regular tweets and DMs because I get a lot of stuff. And then all of a sudden, boom, I get, notice after notice after notice after notice. Like, well, what's going on? And like, oh, Jordan Peterson retweeted. Okay, it's so funny how big his reach is, and just one little retweet makes everything kind of go crazy. But anyways, for those of you on TikTok and everybody else, I'm just going to let them know because they want to come. Some of them want to come in here and join the chat, of which Jesse's here. Jesse, good morning. Avril, you guys are all here. Everybody's here. Come to the stream on YouTube, youtube.com/BJD online or honkingforfreedom.locals.com. And come join the chat. I have TikTok on my burner phone or my US phone for when I'm in the States. So sometimes people send me messages and whatever, and I take a couple days to get back to you. It's just because it's not my primary device. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. So, but love you all. Come hang out. Come join the chat. Come call me names. I don't care. Whatever. It's funny. And we'll talk to you soon. All right. So I'm finished with TikTok. Let me just put that up there and whatever. Okay, so somebody's gonna start talking now. So yeah, there's I don't know. It's kind of weird. And then when people start messaging like crazy, and then all of a sudden you have, I don't know, 100 plus DMs, messages, whatever. And sometimes you never know who they're from because there's what's her name? That girl who retweeted me as well. She's funny. She's a comedian. Nicole Arbor, I think it was. And there's a whole bunch of people in that network of friends that he has and all that sort of stuff. Then they start retweeting. And it's like, okay, great. Yet the algorithm. Anyways, whatever. Hopefully Elon will get Twitter sorted out. It's not an exact science. It's a black box. For those of you who are confused about Twitter censorship, do you know what a black box is? Should I explain it to you? Because Elon made the statement that, we're working on it. And everybody's like, well, how difficult is it? Just turn the censorship off. That's not how it works. It's called a black box. It's not a physical box. It's kind of a software application with machine learning. So inputs go in. The algorithm utilizes machine learning. And then it evolves from one generation to the next generation to the next generation to the next generation. And then you get an output, right? And this evolution goes on indefinitely. So you come in 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, where Elon Musk buys it, and okay, we need to remove all the censorship. Well, it's not like you click a button. There's a black box, artificial intelligence, essentially, that's running it. We need to retrain it, like training a dog. We need to retrain it not to censor people because when Twitter originally launched it, same as Facebook, because they work on the same premise, it became a little bit, as the woke supremacists call it, racist. And they didn't like that, so they artificially put inputs in it to make it more woke, and now they have to undo the wokeness. So that's why we need patience with Twitter and Elon Musk and all that sort of stuff. Okay, getting a lot of. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'll get to the locals' comments in a second. And John is here. By the way, John is in Vancouver, Northern BC. I always say that, I don't know why. Northern BC, the complete opposite of Vancouver. One of my buddies, trucker, was out there with the convoys throughout the month while we were in Ottawa during Freedom Convoy last year. And part of the group that was running regular convoys and protests across all of British Columbia. So John has just posted a video today, or he sent me the link to the video, of their aerial footage of their convoys in British Columbia. I think I just posted it to Twitter. If I didn't do it right, I'll do it again. but check it out. And John, thanks for being here, brother. Greatly appreciate it. Lee, good morning from London. London, Ontario, or London, England? Let me know. I quite love London, England. London, Ontario, yeah. Western University had very many non-sober nights there. BJdichter, it really helped having the live up and waiting so I know to set my alarm. Yes. Okay, because yesterday was the first time I posted it the night before. And if you would like me to continue to do that, I will. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's the best balance and what works for everybody, because I don't want to, like Beth was asking, I didn't get a notice for the live stream. It's because I didn't want, when we put the notice, some people get an email, and I just didn't want them all to get an email the night before. Like, I don't know, but Beth, if you think that's a good idea, I can do that. Diamond James, Hong Kong, happy Freedom Convoy anniversary. We are the Fringe. Good morning from Eastern Ontario. Good morning, brother. Fi, what's up, brother? It's good to see you. Fi's one of my good buddies, Bitcoin buddy. And glad to see you here. Yes, I was counting on Facebook notifying me when you are live. Okay, so you know what? Maybe I'll see if I can do this more regularly. The problem was then, I had an idea of topics I wanted to talk about, and then it all changed this morning because so much has happened. Okay. And locals, good morning. And hold on, I got to make it down here. Kiss Junkie, what is going on? What's going on? Quote, question mark definition. Yeah, BJ is, I'm too divisive and disagreeable, apparently. You know how it is in politics. This is how the weasels in the political class operate. Just so you know, most people in the political class, they were you remember the obnoxious kids in when you were growing up in school that nobody liked, and they were the know-it-alls, and they became, I don't know, they were just that certain type of kid that it's not like they were nerds, because the nerds were cool when I grew up because they were on the computers, as was I. They obviously weren't the sports and jock sort of person. They were just kind of like these extra people, these extra kids that nobody really liked, and they were just obnoxious. They're the ones who would be like, oh, you missed 3 questions on your test, or the grammar Nazi, the spelling Nazi, but like that's what our political class is. So, and what they do is, because they're all spineless weasels, they try to defame everybody else, and then when they encounter somebody like yours truly, and I don't take that crap, and I push back, and I push back and punch back very, very hard, then it's, oh, you're being divisive. That's your hashtag leadership. Welcome to politics. You now know everything about inside politics and the underlying philosophy of how it all works. So, yeah, I'm having an argument with Tom. We call him Hurt Locker Marazzo. I have a friend who calls him Tom Mozzarella or Tom Menopause on YouTube comments, because he takes no ownership for his part dividing the freedom fighters. Of course, because he's a hired gun. Listen, you saw what happened on Canada Day when he took the script that clearly somebody wrote for him, and he just arrogantly threw it in the air, and then started talking about, I don't know, the police and helping the police or whatever. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? And then I'm going to check your ego. I'm trying to talk to you, but you idiots won't, or whatever he called them. You dummies won't even listen to me, or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, there's your inspiring spokesperson, or perhaps politically charged hit job. But who knows? We'll see what it's worth. Yeah, Christine, he's not worth your time. That's 100% because he's expendable. That's the way the political structure works. It's definitely, there's a hierarchy within all this backroom stuff, and he's one of the many people who's expendable, and in, 6 months, a year, he'll just be completely forgotten. Nobody will know who he is, and that's just kind of how it is. It seems very complicated. Elon is talking about Twitter, a huge job ahead of him. Yep, that's why he said, if you want us to work at Twitter, you're going to have to be prepared to work. And I watched something about it. Somebody said, it's completely changed. It's a completely different company now. the floors, the office isn't clean. There's empty pizza boxes. It's not tidy like it used to be. They don't have the yoga studio and crap like that. And it's like, yeah, that's what a computer programmer's space or computer engineer's space looks like. So maybe I just know lots of computer programmers. That's what Twitter should have always looked like, a place you don't want to go because it's a mess, but there's guys sitting there coding for 24 hours straight. Anyways, but yeah, exactly. But he likes to say, check your ego. So I'm turning back around on him. Yeah, there was a meme that somebody sent me that I posted yesterday about the Ottawa police. You can see in my feed. I'll see if I can find it while I'm doing this. It's quite fun. But anyways, I don't want to spend a lot of time on irrelevant people. That's not what we're here for. We're here for freedom and to love each other and to expand our freedoms in the future and celebrate the freedoms that we have and that we achieved. And it was on this very day, I just updated the thumbnail. It was on this very day that myself and Tamara, Chris Guerra was already there for a week. This is when I saw Bridget for the first time. I didn't meet Chris yet. The Swiss hotel was mad. It was packed with people. And I was there with Quiggin and a whole bunch of people. We all showed up, and I have that picture of where Tamara was walking by in front of me, and she didn't see me because she's 5'0". And the room was so crowded. And she was talking to Chris Guerra. I took a picture just as they were hugging, and then I tapped her on the back, and she spun around, and she saw me. She jumped up, and we were talking like, I don't know. I mean, me and her have been friends at that point for what, four years, I think? Something like since we met each other. We became friends basically instantly. And she turned around, and she jumped up and gave me a hug, and she started crying, and she said, I can't believe this, and this is amazing, and whatever. It was a truly beautiful moment. And if a bunch of scumbag lawyers want to try to taint that, well, I think they'll have a challenge over the long term. And but I'll get to that in a bit. But what we do see, the reason I mentioned Twitter is because, look, Twitter is the space, whether we like it or not. That's where the political class is. That's where the kind of old school celebrities are. That's where people who are influencers and prominent in business are, and that's where the media goes to, fake news and alternative news and alternative fake news, because that exists as well. They all converge on Facebook for stories and things to talk about and see what's going on in the world, whether we like it or not. And that's why it was important for Musk to take it over. So I've noticed today, well, it started yesterday already, Freedom Convoy is trending, and I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to suggest that perhaps... Oh, that's the problem. Hold on. Perhaps... I'm like, why is it so dark in here? What did I forget to do? Perhaps the Freedom Convoy is going to be trending for I'm guessing about the next month. It's been the entire year, periodically, Freedom Convoy would be trending as things happen in the news and whatever. The political class seemed to think, for some reason, that they were going to take the Freedom Convoy after it was all said and done and sweep it under the rug. They kind of miscalculated that I'm not going to allow that to happen. And I'm not the only one. So, good luck to you. This was became a global event. And media capitalized on it, much like they capitalized on Trump. Whether they liked Trump or not, he was very good for their analytics and their tracking and for their clicks. And the Freedom Convoy is the same thing. That's why Rachel Gilmore is her name, or the TikTok girl, the global TikTok girl. That's why she's talking about the Freedom Convoy. She's not dumb. She wants an audience. She wants clicks. She's going to talk about Freedom Convoy. And guess what? This is just the first anniversary. Just the first. You don't think there's going to be more? And that we're going to look at the different days? And maybe we'll pick a couple of days that will become significant days in history, in Canadian history, is what we did. I'm already 10 steps ahead of them planning all this stuff. So, it's not going away anytime soon. Nobody has to worry about it. But so I do predict we're going to see it trending for quite a while. Beth says, I started watching Diverge Media's review of... okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me just slow down. Yeah, I already know what you're thinking. You're so enthusiastic, and I love you guys for it. It's great. Good morning from I guess that's Prince George, right? Prince George, BC, and Francine, giving them heck. Well, that's what I do. My mother always told me growing up I have this insane ability to drive absolutely anyone completely crazy and up the wall, and I'm just targeting it on some of the slugs that are in politics. What are you going to do? And I ain't going away anytime soon, right? I must have been surprised that I was engaging in Twitter spaces from South America, still to get fielding requests and doing interviews on this stuff. I guess they're like, when this guy going to go away? He's not. All right, Tao. Speaking of being divisive, what's your take on the mass email? Supposedly, there was a mass email. Oh, well, that would be the JCCF trying to engaging in reputation destruction and trying to protect the $5 million that they raised, that they're hoarding, that they raised for truckers and for the Freedom Convoy and for our legal defense, and they're keeping it in their pocket. And as I mentioned before, Ron DeSantis in Florida, when GoFundMe was doing something similar, he described that as criminal fraud. So as they say in the legal world, I strongly suggest that they govern themselves accordingly. Anyways, but there's going to be probably much more on that. I do not consider... Oh, who's that? Is this Hurt Locker? I do not consider him a convoy leader. He showed up uninvited after the fact. He's showed up under that, and then somehow the city, according to testimony from Wilson, somehow the city called him Hurt Locker Tom, and Hurt Locker Tom asked the lawyers to come meet with the cities without telling any of us. So you telling me that's not an inside job? Like, come on, people. I know Canadians we can be a little bit naive sometime, but we can't be that naive. I think he's a sucker. He was invited by James Bowder for being introduced by a third party from Off the Grid camp. I have done some digging there. But then why did he say he was invited by Randy Hillier? And then why did he say he was... Anyways, whatever. Enough with him. He's such a loser. Forget about it. Let's make a roll. Let's not talk about Hurt Locker Tom or other people in the future. They're just kind of... People are realizing what it is. Yesterday I was in a meeting with some very friends who are very prominent, very longtime friends. I've known them for most of my life. And they are, you consider them normies, right? They're not really engaged politically and stuff. They have no patience or time for political parties because they're just, their lives are busy. And I was shocked that my friend was sitting down, her and her husband. She knew everything about Freedom Convoy and all the parties involved and everybody involved and who was, backstabbing who and how it was all working. I mean, I guess that's just a career in business and a career dealing with legal matters and a career dealing with people who lie to you. You get really good at figuring out, okay, I see this person's telling a lie, that person's telling a lie, this one's telling the truth. So it was really nice to see somebody who really wasn't at the Freedom Convoy, is not tied to any political parties, who I would be shocked if they knew everything. They knew everything, more than most people. So there's a lot of that out there. So people know what's going on. I remember the other kids, okay. I remember the other kind of obnoxious kids who asked questions that didn't stick to the approved narrative. High school in the 1970s. Exactly. You get a star for this one, brother. I was taught to avoid them and be a good, being good meant to, I'm butchering this because it's still scrolling. Hold on, let me get this. meant to compliant and don't question authority. Those obnoxious kids are turned out to be right, but inconvenient to the status quo. Yes, I mean that's like if you grew up in the time that I grew up, and I think many of us, you kind of grew up that like one of the movies we watched. Movies were very influential when you're a kid. I remember watching Lethal Weapon. Sergeant what was it, Hightower, Murtlock, I think were there. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen those movies. But you learn to be not necessarily a badass, but you don't take crap. Like you call things out when it's not true, or when people are exploiting other people. So that's kind of like the frame that I think many of us grew up with. At least I did. And that's kind of how I look at things. I don't really care what the narrative. A test I gave people in politics when I got involved in the Conservative Party, and I've asked many people this, people who I wasn't sure I could trust. Well, I mean, that's everybody. But, the ones who I really, really wanted to get a sense of where their value systems were, I would say to them that, the way I grew up that the primary thing that's important, that is your integrity, that builds your integrity, is loyalty. And even the criminals understand loyalty. Even they get it. You've seen, we talked about movies before. Scarface. All I have in this world is my word and my balls, and I don't give them up for nobody, right? I asked many people in politics, or I brought up this point, that the thing that's most important in life is loyalty. And you'd have to be. If you have, you care for your families and friends and whatever, then loyalty is going to be a primary value that you hold. And I was shocked the number of people in politics that would say to me, yeah, it's important, but sometimes there's the greater good. Communist? I mean, the greater good. What, you're part of a cult? Like, no. You be loyal to people, and that's it. And loyalty is not easy sometimes. And sometimes loyalty causes you to have to make some really difficult decisions. But that's absolutely, I don't know, for me, that's important. So when I see disloyalty, it upsets me. And I have a friend who's, most of my friends probably, I guess we all feel the same way. That's what you build your social circle around, people who share values with you. And so when when this letter came up, I got a call from a very close friend of mine who was she was really upset, and she started crying, and she was in tears. And she said to me, and this was, by the way, the person who wrote that piece in my Substack, who took care of me from February 19th or 19th, whenever everything started. From there, that entire week that I was on the phone with lawyers trying to prevent entrapment from the OPP and trying to fight a possible warrant for any sort of arrest or seizure of property. When everybody's like, oh yeah, Dichter left. Dichter was on the phone constantly with lawyers dealing with legal issues, warrants and arrest and entrapment and a whole bunch of stuff. And I had a number of lawyers working with me who were supportive, sympathetic. It was a very stressful week. But anyways, so from that point on until March 12th, I stayed in Ottawa with this friend of mine. And she called, and so she saw everything that was going on during Freedom Convoy. She knew all the players, all the back stuff. Some of the interviews I did were in her place. Sometimes you kind of need to get away, or I had to go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, come back, be drugged out, wake up, do an interview, and then go back to the hotel. Like there was so much of that going on. And I think I did 3 or 4 interviews at her place. Dave Rubin was one of them. Barry Weiss was another one. A couple others. But anyways, so she called me and she was in tears. She was really, really upset and crying and saying, I can't believe, her words. And I said to her, she said, I can't believe Tamara would do that to you. And I said, and she went on, like, for everything you did, everything you've tried, even the past several months, and I don't think Bridget would take issue with me saying, hopefully she doesn't, but whatever, we'll fight about it and whatever. But I don't think she takes issue with me saying that I reached out to her, and part of what I was trying to do was to calm some of the rhetoric, and explain to Bridget that it's not one person, it's not Tamara that did anything. That all of us were exploited. We were all played to fight with each other by the plane from hell, and they were all there this is the typical political strategy when they see something grassroots. It's move in, divide and conquer, and fundraise around it if it goes sideways, and make sure you funnel the fundraising into their platform, and which is exactly what they did here. So I don't think Bridget would take issue with me saying I worked long and hard talking with her, communicating with her, finding common ground, and explaining that perhaps some of her outrage was a little bit displaced, that there was people much higher up that were engaged in this, and I think she agrees. There clearly was some emotional friction between the two. But I think, Bridget's testimony in the commission would have been far more aggressive had I not been speaking with her, working things out, talking to her, and trying to, work on a path forward together, because I'm trying to get as many people to be on side with one another, understand the deceptive nature of the people who sabotaged us and ruined the Freedom Convoy. But, we still accomplished so much. So, but the people who caused those truckers to get arrested and for those trucks to get kettled. And, the first time I spoke to Bridget on this issue before the commission, I think we were on the phone. I was driving to, I think, Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Connecticut or maybe Middletown. We were on the phone for 5 hours, just kind of catching up and putting the pieces together and explaining that no, it's not that any individual went there and whatever. It's just there's this whole umbrella of political operatives that throw money around and to defame people. This is the Big Con Canada Inc. that I'm referring to that I'm going to expose over the next several months. The ones who prevent you, if you're a social conservative from Western Canada, you're not allowed to have certain views, and they'll force you into one or two different issues, and the rest of it they really don't care what you think, because they're just going to focus on Ontario, because everything's a strategy and you're just a number, and that's how Big Con Canada Inc. operates. And it's not just unique to this end of the political aisle. The other end operates the same way, which is why I've been able to find common ground with people who are on the liberal side who complain about this happening to them too. So anyways, K9 asks about this letter and whatever. I didn't realize they emailed it. Wow, that's it's funny. Firstly, the letter wasn't written by her. I know her. I know how she writes. I know how she speaks. We all know who wrote that. That was not written by her. And I love the part. I love the part where they said, referring to the lawyers and I think it was lawyers and maybe it was Hurt Locker, that the lawyers are the true heroes that they truly are. Really, the lawyers are the heroes. I think it might be the truckers. Call me crazy. They might be the heroes in all of this, not the lawyers, not the dirtbag lawyers that came to exploit all of us and divide and conquer. I think it might have been the truckers on the ground that sat there in the freezing cold for 3 weeks, worried about how am I going to make my truck payment? How am I going to make my mortgage payment? But I got to stick this out because this is important. It's going to destroy my business. but I'm speaking on behalf of all Canadians, and eventually became people around the world who are suffering this authoritarian creep. Maybe they were the heroes and it wasn't the dirtbag lawyers, Like, that's something, if you've ever watched the TV show Better Call Saul, or the TV show, the Netflix series Better Call Saul, that's something Better Call Saul would say about himself, right? So yeah, my thoughts on the letter. I encourage all of you to watch Diverge Media. He's really doing the deep dive into this. I have other stuff to deal with. And him and the guys at the National Telegraph are looking into this as well. That, I'll let them kind of deal with it. And yesterday, the live stream that Diverge Media did, that Greg from Diverge Media did, he broke down this letter that I really hadn't read or listened to or whatever. But that cartoonist, I think his next book is going to be How the Conservative Party Stole My Brain. That would be a good suggestion for him. And I posted that somewhere on Twitter, our private DM interaction, where he was actually great with me in the beginning when we started talking and wanted to do something and let's kind of work together and promote each other's books. And then he said, I'm going to Ottawa to meet with the Conservatives. And I'm like, why the Conservatives meeting with him? Why? Oh, let me guess. They want to turn him into the next slave, right? Make a whole bunch of promises and get him to be a mouthpiece for the Conservative. That's how this whole big con apparatus works. And the other thing is, I don't want to collectivize this and say, the Conservative Party or any party or whatever. This Stop Big Con is something separate. It's individuals that are linked in and plugged into different parties that do it. And they exploit the political parties and try to take it over and force their narrative, which is completely fake. And so that's how this all operates, right? So I don't want to, people always ask me about different leaders and Pierre and whatever, and I always say it's not Pierre that's the party, the problem. It's the party that's the problem, and maybe the fact that they have a woke supremacist as their deputy leader. And that woke supremacist is the piece of garbage that met with, what's his name? How the Prime Minister Stole My Brain guy. How the Conservative Party stole my brain guy. And so that's kind of how all of this works. And it's just to ensure that you don't get a voice, that you have to. They're the only ones who get to speak. You don't get to speak, right? Do you know anything about the 3 or 4 million people gathering in Argentina? So that's happening all over Latin America. Argentina. Chile just voted in a lefty guy that they think it was not, well, listen, no election in Latin America is above board. But they got another WF leftist. We see what's happening in Brazil. When I was in Colombia, that's when Petro was elected, and same sort of thing. So it's, but then there's some on the other side, you get places like Sweden, who's just elected somebody who's on the conservative right of issues and stuff. So there's always change. But, I mean, Argentina has some significant problems, corruption being one of them, their fiscal policy being another. And we can, Dave and I, Dave O, if you know who he is, we've hosted spaces together. We've been wanting to do a space on Latin America. He's Colombian. And Latin America is very important for North America as much as we don't realize it. It's communism on our doorstep, and we don't need that. So maybe we'll do a space and talk more about Latin America, in terms of Argentina and. Look at what's interesting is somebody I'm close to who's brought up a couple of times Nicaragua. Nicaragua is like, so hardcore left it's almost Soviet. But they had no mask mandates. They had no vaccine mandates. They had no restrictions, no lockdowns, no nothing. So there are people who are even on that side of the political spectrum that don't want to be, entrapped. I know it's kind of a contradiction in philosophy, but it is what it is. And you got to reach out to who you can. If we want to get our freedoms, we got to find people on the other side. Bridget Belton says, I did an info dump to Diverge Media. Okay, great. So, and that's what when Greg from Diverge Media first reached out to me for an interview, He was skeptical. He's like, I don't understand what you're talking about, but I'm willing to listen. And if you can provide me some evidence and some background and whatever, I'll look into it. And I'm like, well, let's do the interview and we'll see. And we did the interview, and him and Joe Rampart and a whole bunch of people I've been speaking to on Twitter since the Convoy, because I've been going into Twitter Spaces since February. All of them say, you know what you're telling is 100% accurate and consistent, not consistent only with what you've said previously, but consistent with the observable and objective facts. So, it is what it is. Lorraine, Calgary here. Good morning. What part of Calgary are you in, Lorraine? My family used to live in the southwest. I still have some cousins there, but my other cousins either moved to BC, some of them came to Ontario, and so I know that city pretty well. Spent a lot of time, a lot of my life growing up going to visit Calgary. So, and I always love, we all love Banff, right? There's nobody who doesn't love going to Alberta to go to Banff, at least for a little trip. So I love it. Y'all need to stop this shit. Nobody cares about the insights. Freedom is the prize, and you're embarrassing all of us. Well, then, Brenda, then get the fuck out, okay? What do you want from me? Like, we're not going to be aligning with people who sabotaged us. And if you don't like it, okay, then you don't have to be here. Why are you here? Go, leave. So, that is the true sign of weakness. And that's the sign of weakness. Remember, I talked about in the schoolyard growing up. That's exactly the type of weakness. We need to reject the people who are, just everybody come together and love. Like, I would love that. That would be great. But life is not a Disney cartoon. Sometimes there's bad people. And sometimes there's bad people who got a whole bunch of truckers arrested because they helped kettle some trucks. And you know what? They need to be exposed. And then the rest of us who are consistently fighting for freedom, sacrificing, being targeted in lawsuits and whatever, then the rest of us can come together and help each other. But the analogy Diverge Media used yesterday, and I've mentioned it before, I got it from a friend of mine, is, when the Canadian military has an infiltrator from the Chinese military working within their system as a mole, you try to expose the mole first, and then you fix things. You can't just go on and, get along with each other. Like it's Tao, yeah, for fuck's sakes. You're the best, brother. I wonder if she considers messaging stating that she didn't start the convoy, defaming her. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, and, this is just my perspective, right? Like, for me, it's not important who started the convoy. That's just me. I understand why for some people like Bridget, it's important. So I get that. I understand why it's important for her and, Colin when he left and all that stuff. Like, I get that. But I think in the broader sense, it's a data point that it's the broader sense of freedom and what we accomplished. That's what's really important. I'm not trying to take away from that, by the way. I like I said, I understand the frustration. I get that, right? But I think overall we're going to be going to such a good place over the long term that point will, I think, become less significant over time, and what we achieve together is going to be what's more significant, right? But I could be wrong, but that's how I think of it. Thank you for talking to me, BJ, for all you did. I would have lost it over her messaging had we not talked. So there you go. When people say, oh, your Dichter's being divisive, like, excuse me, here, right from the horse's mouth, right from Bridget's mouth. The fact that as she says, I'll repeat it, I thank you for talking to me, BJ, for all you did. I would have lost it over her messaging had we not talked, referring to during the commission, because I could tell how stressed she was and whatever, and that frustration could be targeted where it truly belongs, right? And So yeah, so there you go. Mr. Divisive has been working for months to get everybody, working together and supporting each other and working broader over exposing the people who. This is why it's important. People are like, well, why do you care? The reasons it's important that everybody understands. Stop Big Con Canada Inc. This conglomerate of donors, political actors, saboteurs. The reason that's important is because that's what's stealing your voice. That's why, like when people say, the Conservative Party's not conservative anymore. And listen, I'm very libertarian. So I have opinions on all sides. Okay, I'm far less conservative than some of you on some issues, and I'm far more conservative on other issues than some of you. But overall, I'm pretty libertarian. But because of that, I want all of you to have a voice. It's important. But Big Con Canada Inc. ensures you don't have a voice. That's how you get Aaron O'Toole as leader of the Conservative Party, because that's Big Con Inc. fleecing you and lying to you and telling you this is going to be your opinion, and if it's not your opinion, you're splitting the vote, or the country's going to go to hell and Trudeau's going to be here forever. Like, no, how about you do your job? How about you do your job and represent the interests of the people in your party? And listen, I tried in a couple of issues I did. To ensure that everybody was happy. There's something that some people who are obsessive and crazy, maybe I'll talk about it another time, what I worked on and why a policy that we worked on, we did something specific for the social conservative base to make them happy and something else to make everybody else happy. It was a win-win for everyone, but that's not how Big Con Canada Inc. works. Because they have to be in control, always. It's like dealing with a conglomerate of psychopaths. It's crazy. The cartoonist guy said, I don't know what Dichter or Eros stories or claims are. I don't care about the drama. Then goes on to lay on accusations about you. Yeah, and then drama. The guy's crazy. He's clearly mentally ill, but whatever, that's fine. That's Big Con Canada exploiting the mentally ill. The insights are important as well as more of the inside story. Many people still have false notions about the protest, and some of the worst actors are still getting away with their bad acting. 100%. 100%. And it's never going to stop if we don't inform everybody as to what's going on and what they went through. Okay, let's hold on, I'm just scrolling through. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so basically I didn't want to talk about this very much. I'm going to be doing, because I asked you all in a previous stream, and I'll get to locals in a second. I haven't forgotten you. I see all your comments here. I am going to be doing a vlog, a video, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to live stream it because I kind of want to get my thoughts together. I'm going to be doing a video basically talking to all of you. It's going to be public for all of you. But what I've been trying to talk to Tamara for months. That's what was really frustrating in Keith's letter. Tamara's letter. Where it says, been trying to talk. Like, no. Every other week, I tried to talk to Tamara since the convoy. And every other week, I got some bullshit from our council. Oh, we can't talk this week. We can talk next week and whatever. And that went on for, 8 months, 9 months. I guess the best way to summarize that letter and that situation and all that sort of stuff, because I'm pretty dismissive. I know it's not her, so I don't really care. But have any of you known somebody who is in an abusive relationship? Somebody who is in a relationship with someone who was highly, highly manipulative. And what do? They isolate the person from their families or friends or all that sort of stuff. And what do? They try to over and over manipulate them with different narratives, false narratives, and all that sort of stuff, right? That's exactly what we're seeing. That's exactly what we're seeing in terms of what's happening on that end, because there's a bunch of I guess to use Mark Petroni's word. There's a bunch of vermin. there's a bunch of vermin in some organization out west that have helped and coordinated in divide and conquer the Freedom Convoy, and then funnel $5 million of your donation monies to keep for themselves, to help a couple of people, and the rest of the truckers and convoy leaders and everybody else who they claimed they're going to be raising money for, we're all screwed and left in the dark. So, and what have they done? They've taken the other thing is, Bridget will like when I say this, but this is true. We got to be honest. It was not the Tamara Leach convoy. It was not the Benjamin Dichter convoy. It wasn't the Bridget Belton convoy. It wasn't the Chris Guerra convoy. It was the Freedom Convoy. And it also wasn't the Taking Back Our Freedoms convoy, which we'll talk about that another time. Stop Big Con Canada, Inc. But it wasn't any one individual, and it's really frustrating for a lot of people. I know a lot of truckers are starting to get annoyed with this. For them to lionize one individual and put that amount of pressure on one person while they're in an abusive relationship with that person and turning them into a political pawn, right? And you know what they're going to do, like they always do in politics? Eventually they'll stab her in the back. That's the way it works. We see that in abusive relationships. That's why it's an abusive relationship. But the convoy was not about one individual person. That's why I try to speak on behalf of it. But, I'm trying not to throw my name around all the time. I'm trying not to. It's all of you. It's you made the Freedom Convoy. I mentioned that I was on this podcast the other night, the Super Spreaders podcast. The guys are great. They're hysterical. They go through all the data and all that sort of stuff. And I said to them, like I've said in many other Twitter spaces, my media strategy, it wouldn't have worked without you. It was dependent upon all of you. So the strategy was great. But if it wasn't for all of you getting on Twitter spaces, doing live streams on the ground, doing vlogs talking about it, doing Facebook posts on it, that's what made it the Freedom Convoy and made it global. I just did the messaging that I knew would work, that you could capitalize on and reach out to the rest of the world. And did as many interviews as I could to talk about not me, but to talk about the truckers and the Freedom Convoy. And you'll notice in all of my interviews, that's what I'm talking about. And I got really uncomfortable a couple of times. People tell me about you and whatever. Like, I like my privacy, right? I know, I'm doing a live stream. I like privacy. Listen, this is important, right? We need to I'll be public until the record is set straight. Put it that way. But all of this was you. It was you who did that. That's why we're celebrating the convoy and your contribution to it. And that's why I'm so upset and so frustrated that a network of political actors and saboteurs came and destroyed everything you worked for and everything you messaged to and everything you did to get people coming to Ottawa. That's why I'm so frustrated, because they're stealing your legacy. It's not my legacy, it's your legacy that they're stealing and trying to take credit for. And that's just not right. That's just not, I don't know. I have what is very rare in politics called a moral compass. Yeah, it's flawed. Everybody's flawed. But that is the basic decency of freedom and supporting people. You guys did all of this. And that's why this book, it's got my name and John's name on it. But this book is all your stories. This is all, Dave Live from the Shed. This is Caribou's story about Bitcoin. This is Colin's story. And we talk about Bridget's story and Tamara calling. Like, this is everyone else's story, right? We just put it together. Yeah, of course, there's a few chapters on what I was dealing with because I had the best perspective on it, right? From a media strategy, communication strategy, what was going on. But this is all about you, right? So, anyways, Tamara or whoever sent that email, a friend of mine in Ottawa, I just don't understand why the email was sent in the first place. It doesn't seem to be someone who would do that. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's so well, you can tell it's not who did it, right? It's a really crappy lawyer who did it, because they talk about defamation. What defamation? There's nothing in there that shows any defamation, because I haven't engaged in any defamation. Yeah, telling the truth of what some people did, okay, but if you're going to say this is what Diverge Media's claim was. But anyways, I keep getting dragged into this. Let's get back to positivity. Benjamin J. Dichter did so many interviews, and they were used in articles totaling like 4 pages of links, and that's up to February 2022. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, if you put all the links of different interviews I did, there's Do you have that, by the way, K9? Because I need a good copy of a good list of all the interviews that I did during that period. If you have them, that would be a huge help for me. Just because there's some people I'm dealing with in down south that want to do interviews with me, and are reaching out, and been doing a big interview on Monday, actually. And it would be good to be able to send a list. I have a list, but if you're saying it's that long, then it's longer than mine. So I appreciate it. Yeah, and in all of those interviews, what was I talking about, K9? Was I talking about, myself? Was I talking about, my entrepreneur life? Like, half the people, the people are smearing, he's not a real trucker. Because I wasn't talking about my truck. I wasn't talking about myself. I wasn't talking about what I do. I was talking about all of you, and I was talking about the Freedom Convoy and getting our freedoms back, because that's what I was there for. Like, I was there for work. I was not there to, try to run after every camera that was turned on and talk about how... But I'm going to go down that line. It is what it is. But a convoy, the government, the convoy and the government, the wise and the people. Exactly, 100%. Anyways, Sandy says facts. Exactly. We need objective facts, and we need to, people need to know exactly what went on and get away from all this narrative stuff. It's frustrating. Anisha, look forward to your video for Tamara. She really needs positive energy right now. Yeah, that's the thing that we always really connected on. And like, even when I'm here and I'm animated, I get a little frustrated. I'm not angry. It is what it is, right? Like I often say that. That's life. And next one will be locals. Tao says, Benjamin Dichter, do you think Marazzo plays Trucker Simulator these days? Well, that's the closest he's ever gotten to a truck. Oh, and there's that other idiot who's attacking me. What's his name? Truck driver pleb. I want to know what kind of truck he drives. All these people, like when you're LARPing as a trucker, your life has hit a new low. I mean, not that trucking's not great. I love it. It's freedom. It's awesome. But I like authenticity. For me, authenticity is everything. That's also another reason I didn't really jive well with politics over the long term. And there's a few friends I've kept in politics, and because those are real and genuine people. You saw my lawyer, Jim Karahalios, who I've become very close friends with. And it's not like we sit and talk politics all the time. We're just friends. And yeah, sometimes we do a little politics. And, when I reached out to him to be my lawyer in the commission, I knew it would be a good play, and I think it was. And I hope you think the same thing. And I hope you thought his... you didn't see the behind the scenes when me and Jim were up until 3 a.m. in the hotel preparing for testimony, and the amount of work that was. It was significant. That guy is a machine. He really is. But yeah, he's a good dude. He's a good guy. Anyways, okay. Yes, I never saw you during the convoy. Yeah, if you were watching either Legacy Media or Facebook, because I was not on Facebook, we decided, Tamara, you deal with the Facebook thing because I'm not on Facebook anymore. You deal with Facebook. I'll use all the other. I'll use the other media platforms, and I'll go on to do the interviews. And we had a team that was helping with the press releases and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how we divided up. So if you're on Facebook, then you probably wouldn't have seen me because I wasn't airing things on Facebook. But felt that the fairness with Dave. Thanks for your book. Oh, Dave live from the shed. Thanks for your book explaining behind the scenes. Yeah, Dave's story, Dave live from the shed. His story was quite compelling and it was quite interesting. So whatever. Avril, if I ever need a lawyer, I will be calling Jim Kay. You know, it's funny. I was, I think I told this before. I was in a conference call with, a conference call, like a Zoom call. Jordan and I used to talk on phone, and we just decided to move to Zoom so we could see each other. It's a little bit easier. So I had a Zoom call with Jordan, and I brought Jim Karahelios into this conversation just to kind of explain what I'm dealing with and stuff like that. I didn't get into the weeds with him. He's a different level of stuff, and I think he knows I'm dealing with stuff on my level. He deals with stuff on his level. Other people will deal with different stuff. Everybody's kind of fighting this fight for freedom in a different way. And but I brought Jim into that conversation. And I said I said to Jordan, one of the primary reasons I've chosen Jim as my lawyer, I said not only is he a good friend, but and I said, and he's not here in a political capacity. He's has a political history, but that's not what he's here. He's a lawyer. And I said, because prior to him being a lawyer, he was an engineer. He went to an engineering school and worked in the industry. I don't remember what capacity. Jim explained to me that I forgot. And then he went back to school to go to law school. And Jordan jokingly says, "Oh, so you had a real job." And the reason is because Jim was an engineer, and I did a year of mechanical engineering. I knew he had he has that engineering mind which focuses on attention to detail, and I knew that would be important in the commission and preparing and stuff. And boy, was I correct! He really blew me away. He really is. He's so like John Goddard. Jim Karahelios is so focused on the attention to detail that it's annoying. I kept telling him, like, Jim, you're annoying me. He's like, yeah, but he's like, you can't just go in. He's really focused. We had a lot of fun. It's a moment in my life I will cherish for sure. But anyways, okay, a couple of locals comments, and then I got to go home. Jesse says maybe Ben stating he was going to do an email for Tamara was what I was going to do a video for Tamara is what prompted the email. It came after his last live stream. No, I think they were going to plan to do this a long time ago because this is kind of I'm not going to explain the strategy behind it right now. I'm surprised it took them this long to do that, and I think that it took them this long because it's taken now a year of isolating Tamara and working on her psychologically to paint myself and others in a negative light, for her to, my guess is begrudgingly say, whatever, I don't want to hear about it, just do what you have to do, what you think is right. Because when a lawyer tells you, an organization that's, paying for your legal fees or whatever, tells you, do what we say or you're going to jail, that's a pretty powerful motivator. And I don't know that they've told her that, but I've heard from other board members that that's exactly what they were told after I was gone. Do what we say or we're no longer going to be representing you. And some of you, Chris and Tamara, are going to jail. So, and fear is, like I've said before, the most powerful persuading motive, most powerful or most persuasive emotion, and they've just exploited it on her. And I'm sure over the long term she's not going to feel great about this. But whatever, I'm sure at some point we'll all kind of figure it out once we, expunge the parasites. We'll call them the Freedom Convoy parasites. Is that a good way to describe them? The plane from hell. What's the name of that parasite that latches onto sharks when they're great whites when they're swimming around? There's those fish that tag onto them. That reminds me of the lawyers. Anyways, okay, so excellent. How on earth did she turn? Well, okay, I just explained it. It is what it is. I know, disappointed. Again, this was a major. They're just going to destroy her reputation. So I'll try not to allow that to happen. I'll do my best, because we're still friends, as far as I'm concerned. Even when your friend is in an abusive relationship, and you want to wake them up and say, "Get out of this abusive situation you're in," it's difficult, right? It's always easier on the outside than the person who's on the inside, right? So you just gotta be patient and hope that at some point they'll realize what's being done to them and that they'll wake up. And everybody eventually does. Okay, so agreed. I follow the truck. I've not heard him say, "Oh yeah, Lisa, yeah." He said quite a few negative things, but whatever. So what do? Block, because I don't want to hear. I don't really care. Somebody who's irrelevant, who's just mouthy. I don't need irrelevant and mouthy on my feeds. And I don't block many people. Most people I mute. But it is what it is, right? And Lisa, Jim K tells the truth. And an abnormality in politics. Yeah, it is. But there are some of us. I don't consider myself in politics anymore. But yeah, Jim's a good dude. And his wife Belinda's very nice as well, right? Why not BJ? Why not BJ? I went into the POAC and had verbal diarrhea. Well, that's the other thing, and I'm gonna have to shut down in 2 minutes because I got to run to a meeting. People don't understand, and Bridget, you would understand, and everybody else, that it's like the preparation for me was grueling, but that's what you needed, because if you've ever been interrogated before, and when I say interrogate, I mean a police station, but like in a legal proceeding, it's very different when you're the one in the experience versus on the outside. And you always think, we all do this, we always think of things we should have said. Like when that idiot Miller, who was technically he sends me, okay, let me go back. Brendan Miller sends me a Twitter message, I don't know, a while ago. I didn't see it until fairly recently, saying, "Hey, yeah, the commission is what it was. I did my job. That's why I was hired. I had to cross you, and but we can get together and move forward." And I'm like, cross me? I was your client, you fucking idiot. Like, do you not understand I was on that board? Like, I may not be a member now. Like, I think I'm a non-voting whatever member. I know, whatever it is. Didn't really care. I'm like, you're crossing your own client, dipshit. Like, they get the worst lawyers. Like, it's so frustrating, right? Anyways, and then he did all that clown show stuff, chasing people out. Like, this is not how lawyers operate. And and listen, I produce a podcast for lawyers tonight, not on record. Joseph Newberger and Diana Davison have another episode coming out. With lawyers. I've grown up around lawyers. Yeah, I know how lawyers are supposed to behave and what sort of decorum that they have, and that's not it. And that wasn't him doing it on his own. That's the parasites, the Freedom Convoy parasites, trying to use him to get to me. They're trying to use everybody to kind of get to. They don't understand. I'm not talking to any of them. I will never talk to any of them. It's just not happening. That moat around me is specifically for them. You want to talk to me? Talk to my lawyers. And afterwards, I got wind that I told my lawyers. I said, "Hey, why don't we talk to Tamara? Reach out to Tamara's lawyer, not Pat King in a suit. The other lawyers, the criminal lawyer, Greenspan, who's a real lawyer, and let's have a conversation with Tamara. Reach out to her. She can speak to me if it's in the presence of counsel. So reach out to Tamara's lawyer, and let's see if we can have a meeting." This was, a month ago? This is around the time where Miller reached out to me. And I could see that they're desperate to talk to me and get me under control or whatever it was. And I said, okay, let's talk. I would love to talk to Tamara. Let's set it up. So he sent a message. I told him, I believe he sent a message to them to say, let's schedule a meeting and let's talk. Crickets. So, and then what do? They do this a month later. So that's the parasites of the Freedom Convoy who are in an abusive relationship with my friend, and hopefully she will wake up out of it. Packing for Prime Minister, honk, honk, honk. I'm going to say this about Pat King, and even Jim said to me, he said, when they did the fake deal, Pat King is on the stand, he says, I didn't see her signature on that. And everybody in the room, all the lawyers in the room sat around and says, oh yeah, that's a good point. So, he had the sense and the wisdom to realize that there's no signature on this. This is just a PR piece. So there you go. Carl, honk honk, and crickets. All right, guys. So everybody who is having celebrations, we're going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. And be peaceful. Do things in your town, in your city. Be good, kind to everybody. And I will see you all sometime very, very soon. Well, tomorrow we'll talk more about this. And if you have video, share it with me. If you're doing streaming videos or speeches anywhere, please send it off to me, share it to me, put it on TikTok, put it on Twitter, whatever. And I'll do my best to get it out to as many people as possible, because we need to show that all of us stuck together around peace, love, unity, and freedom. While the government on Valentine's Day, which I think is the day we're going to have to celebrate, turned violent and oppressive and turned Canada into a banana republic. Yes, the violence came a few days later, but the invocation occurred on Valentine's Day. So I love you all. Thank you all for being here. I'm sorry I got to cut it short. I didn't realize I got to be there in 5 minutes. Okay? Like always. I'm always talking too much. I know. All right, guys. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Okay? Bye-bye.